Good morning, Lompoc.
Good morning, Lompoc. It's so good to have you here.
Yes, it's good to...
Is it Monday?
It is Monday. I hope you all had a great weekend.
Happy start to your week. We were burning the candle right to the last minute, so I think we have everything organized for a fun show. So.
That was new music by Jacob Cole and a beautiful view over Sanford Vineyard here in the Santa Rita Hills.
Yeah, we're only a couple months away from those grapes starting to turn color, and then harvest will be here before we know it.
And it's nice because we actually get to go visit these places now.
Yes. Been waiting a little bit. How are you guys out there? We hope you guys are well.
Yeah.
Don't forget to share and invite your friends. We're going to have an interesting show today with lots of little tidbits and updates.
So we're going to be chatting with Vicki, Andersen, and Thompson, and we're going to do a tour of a couple of the murals and talk a little bit more about those. I'm sure most of you are aware of the murals here in Lompoc, but maybe a little bit of the history behind them and some of the stories behind a few of them. So we hope to kind of create a little series on those since we have almost 40 murals here in Lompoc.
Yeah, it's kind of fascinating. When you're a local here, it's so easy to just we drive past them and sort of out of sight, out of mind, but there's still so many people that visit just to see what we've done here.
Yeah, and on our little tour on the early Saturday morning, we just saw a couple guys out with cameras taking pictures of the murals, and I'm not sure if they were local or from out of town, but it
was fascinating because the original idea of doing the murals was as an economic draw to get people to come and visit our town. So, and we'll learn a little bit about the inspiration and hang out again with Anne and
Vicki.
I'm still asleep. Vicki Andersen, who's been super amazing and hooked us up with some some background information and some history about a few of these.
Yeah.
And
then we'll also be chatting with Ashley Costa. Yes. She's the executive director of the Lompoc Valley Community Health Organization.
See, I can remember stuff like that sometimes, but
also
names.
Also Lompoc Coalition. So
yes. And we're going to talk about the amazing projects that the LVCHO kind of works behind the scenes to make sure that wellness is propagated throughout our town.
Yep.
So, that should be.
And then, of course, we have our favorite weatherman on, too. And then we have a couple just fun stories. So one of those, some of you might have heard, local chef Anthony Endy of the LVCHO, he had a competition with Bobby Flay.
On the Food Network last night.
Network. That was last night at 10:30, if you saw that. And there's Anthony there. He has the best brisket
I haven't tasted better
ever had in my entire life.
And I just want
Anthony beat him.
Yeah,
he beat Bobby
no
Flay.
surprise there.
I don't know why that just makes me. It's like just that feels so good.
This isn't necessarily Lompoc, but it's county related. So why we were bringing this up is a lot of us have known. Well, sure, but a lot of us.
LVCHO.
Your sister worked at the Los Olivos Cafe when Anthony Endy was actually working there back in the day. And as far as the LVCHO goes, that's a place that I worked from 01 to 06. Yeah. So anyway, lots of history right there. I
consider San Ynez Valley just as local as Lompoc since I grew up there.
Well, fair enough. Well, congratulations to Anthony Endy and all the folks at the LVCHO that must be celebrating, hopefully, really hard today about that big win.
Yes,
so,
and I think they're going to be reopening this Thursday as well. So that's super exciting. So
congratulations. No surprise, though.
And then also here locally, we had a kid from Lompoc High School who got to see his little dream come true.
Yeah. So this is Michael Mendek, and he has autism, but he just graduated from Lompoc High School, and he is fascinated with sanitation refuse trucks, which I can actually really relate to because when I was a kid, I knew for sure that the thing that I wanted to do was hang off the back of the trash truck because those guys were so cool. And then the new trash truck showed up with the robot arms and everything. And anyway, so someone at the city, Brandy Flint, she had read about his fascination with that. So the city did such a cool thing and brought him over and showed him off the trucks and made his day. So a little bit of good local news. I thought that was pretty cool. I'm a little jealous because I still have a place in my heart for the trash trucks.
Yeah,
they're pretty cool.
That was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I can see you. I can picture you on the back of a trash truck, just like hanging on for dear life.
That'd be cool.
And then you have this random video that you found with this.
Just our dose of nature from Monday. This awesome video of a cheetah getting up to I think 62 kilometers per hour. It's just beautiful to watch. How that amazing creature can run.
It kind of looks like my cat, but much sleeker with polka dots.
It looks like me on the way to dinner. Anyway, I thought that was pretty cool.
How fast did he get up to?
Well, it said 62 kilometers per hour, so I don't know. Maybe that's like 46, 48 miles an hour.
Yeah.
Faster than I can run. If a human can run like 11, 12 miles an hour,
I can't.
Really fast.
Not
maybe
me.
a tiny bit faster. So yeah.
Yeah.
If it's chasing me, I'm gonna lose.
I'm like 4 miles an hour. That's kind of like my perfect speed. But I can drive to the finish line and then just wait there. So.
Is that your speed walking backwards? What?
I don't have to get anywhere fast, and I'm not even gonna run. If anybody's chasing me, I'm not gonna run. I'm just gonna sit down and just.
How much sleep did we get last night, Michelle?
I don't know. Anyways, and then we have a little dose. We've been trying to keep up on some history too, just as a reminder. So this is a fun little story about Ruby Bridges.
Yeah.
So there's Ruby. You might have heard this story before.
Yeah. So as our attempt to keep learning a little bit of history. This is Ruby Bridge, and in 1960, it was in November, she was the first child to be integrated.
November 14th.
The first child to be integrated in Louisiana at the school there. It's a fascinating story, and there's a little video from CBS from 2010 that I grabbed a snippet of just to give us a little.
Token break in the color line. A New Orleans girl goes to school.
Now 56, the memories flow easily for Ruby Bridges, the little girl who integrated William Frantz School, protected by a team of federal marshals.
There was lots of people outside, and they were screaming and shouting, and the police officers, but I thought it was Mardi Gras, you know? I didn't actually know that all of that was there because of me.
Her parents were committed to challenging Jim Crow laws and made the uneasy decision of sending their child daily into the teeth of a hate-filled crowd. Resistance was ugly, and downtown protests turned violent. White parents scurried to take their children out of the newly integrated schools.
And they went into every classroom.
So if you're curious to see a little bit more of that video, just Google Ruby Bridge. Bridges, sorry. An amazing story. When she went there for a whole year, 4 federal marshals, I believe, had to escort her to school. And then when she got there, not one teacher would teach her except for one. And no kids were in her class. So for a long time, it was just her and her teacher, and that was it.
I can't imagine.
And just to get into that school, a chance to be integrated, she was one of 6 kids out of hundreds of kids that had
7
6
kids.
or 7 kids that had to. I thought
hundreds of kids had to take this test that they were trying to make impossible so that nobody could get in, so that they didn't have to integrate. And I think 7 kids got in, and she was the only one that stuck with it and was like, no matter what, let's go for it. And I think her dad was worried about it, but her mom was like, this is bigger than you, honey. Let's go for it.
So she was born in 1954.
Yep.
And she's 66 years old now and still very happy and very alive.
Such a fascinating story that this is all just like our parents' generation. So pretty crazy. So
anyway, that's our little tidbit of history. So
yes.
Yeah, do a little more homework on that. You'll find a lot of really interesting stuff.
Yeah. And then we had a chance to chat with Ashley Costa again from the Lompoc Valley Community Health Organization.
Also, they like to be known as the Healthy Lompoc Coalition.
Lompoc Coalition. Yes. That's really what's easy to say.
I have to say this. Yep. So a little bit of background. When Michelle and I moved back in 2012, the very first thing that I got involved in was the Economic Development Committee. And it was Ashley Costa, who was, I believe, a 24-year-old City Council member here in Lompoc. Yep. She said, you should jump onto this commission. So anyway, that's how I started kind of playing around with Lompoc, I don't know, call it politics or issues. But Ashley was, I think, by far the youngest City Council member from Lompoc. She's born and raised here, graduated Lompoc High School.
Went to UCLA and majored in political science. So when she came back here, she thought she wanted to get involved in the community and decided to run for City Council and won. And she was on the bench, I guess you would say. The dais, 2010 to 2014. Yeah. So
anyway. Thank you so much, Ashley, for updating us on all the cool projects you guys are working on. Yeah. And then we're going to follow up with her pretty soon to actually go and check out the Houck Stadium renovation here in town. So that'll be upcoming in the next couple of weeks. So stay tuned.
So here's Ashley.
So the Lompoc Valley Community Healthcare Organization is a local 501c3 nonprofit. We have been around for 20 years, and one of our partners says that we are Lompoc's best kept secret. And I think that there's a lot of truth to that. We do a lot of work in the background because we aren't a direct service provider. So there's a ton of local nonprofits and countywide nonprofits that do direct service: Calm, FSA, Boys and Girls Club, YMCA, North County Rape Crisis. I mean, there's so many great nonprofits, but what we really focus on is being the face of community health. So we do a lot of facilitation, we'll do assessments, community assessments, needs assessments. We convene groups to discuss some of the hard topics of our day, and we educate the community on health and community health. I think we're the best kept secret because a lot of folks don't always see the LVCHO name on the forefront. They may be familiar with an event or a project, but they don't know that we're in the background. So just some examples that you might have heard of is open streets. So if you came out and you walked or you rode or you danced during open streets, you know, that was really me and my staff that were coordinating that. If you've attended the Route 1 Farmers Market, you know, it was the LVCHO that started that initiative more than 3 years ago, realizing that the community with EBT access needed healthy food access. Maybe you've heard of the Capital Campaign to renovate the track and field at Houck Stadium. That's another project that the LVCHO has been committed to for over 3 years now, with my staff time and tremendous amounts of resources and energy. And the great news is we are almost done. More to come on that in the coming weeks. So those are some examples. We also helped start the Caregiver Support Center at Lompoc Valley Medical Center. I mean, we've done so many exciting projects. Safe Routes to School, what's a great one, where we promoted walking and biking to and from school. Bike to Work Day. You know, a lot of different community health initiatives. We installed hydration stations. So if you go to the Andersen Recreation Center and you put your water bottle in their refillable station, we received grant funds to install increasing water access at different sites throughout the community, including the library or the bike park here in town. It's hard to believe I've been in community development work for 10 years in Lompoc now, and so I've learned a lot. One thing is that there is a need for more leadership in our community. So a lot of times what happens is outside entities, in particular countywide entities, approach my organization and ask for us to provide feedback or be involved, sit on a committee or a commission, develop plans, give the Lompoc voice. And we do it often. And it's very humbling and fulfilling work. But what we realize is we don't have the capacity to do everything. So now what we're realizing is we need to develop more leadership from the ground up. You know, whether you're a Lompoc local or you're a transplant, for someone who cares about Lompoc and understands our challenges, understands our community, we need those people to rise up to take on additional positions of leadership, both in Lompoc and perhaps externally outside of Lompoc. There are so many decisions that are made that impact Lompoc where we don't have a voice. And I think one of the things I've taken on over these last few years is trying to give Lompoc a voice in every opportunity that I have. I think it can be hard to understand the value of a small community if you've never left. We have these very interpersonal connections that creates a very deep sense of collaboration and partnership. And I can tell you, I thought that that's just the way things worked, but it's not. And even in a community the size of Santa Maria or Santa Barbara, I think it's diluted. I think in Lompoc and in our small community, we just have this sense of helping each other and achieving shared goals. But I do think that we need leaders to move some of those shared goals forward, take on that load, and bring those partners together on a consistent basis. I mean, really and truly, the best part about my job is that I get to live and work and give back to the community where I was raised. I mean, there's nothing better than that.
You're awesome, Ashley.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for everything you do in Lompoc. We just hope to bring a little more attention to people that are kind of behind the scenes that we don't necessarily see front and center all the time. So get involved. The only way to change Lompoc and make it better, if you want to see that happen, is to do that. Yeah.
She was mentioning, and we were just kind of lamenting the fact that over many years, even before she was kind of doing her thing, there's been I don't know, you call it a routine or a habit of Lompoc not necessarily being at some very important tables at the county level, whether it had to do with our borders or it had to do with housing and lots of things. So anyway, this next generation, we're very hopeful that people can plug in and start to pay a little bit more attention and learn how the system works. And Lompoc needs all the help that it can get. So if you care about your community and you're looking for an opportunity to step up and make a difference. And,
so a couple things to that point. Tomorrow night there is a city council meeting, and the police chief Mariani is going to be there. He's going to be presenting on what they're currently doing at the police station to address the issues that everybody is talking about. And then there's also going to be, I think, an address on the fireworks. So maybe a little update on that so that... Oh my gosh. I literally screamed yesterday.
Oh, man. That was a fun one.
Yeah. Anyways.
Felt like it was right over the house.
Yeah. Oh, man. My cat's starting to get used to it then now, I think.
She's found a deep bunker in the closet.
It's behind some luggage in a little cubby, so she's safe there. And then there's also some volunteer opportunities here that Ashley wanted to share.
I just wanted to say real quick. So this is, and if we can, we're going to jump in on this, but for all of my local friends here, if you've got some time on Wednesday morning, you can see the 3 shifts. All this is picking up some food at the Dick DeWeese Center on Ocean, and for about an hour or just over, just dropping off some food for 6-7 different drop-off spots. They do need some help. Volunteers are a little bit sparse, but if you have a car and a good personality and a good heart, this might be an opportunity. If you're interested in the information...
You don't
I'll probably just stay
no
here.
Personality.
But if you're interested in this opportunity, hit me up or hit us up so that we can, and maybe we can share this on our page. Who to get a hold of and how to participate in this good volunteer opportunity.
Right. And then, of course, we have to give a little shout out to our weatherman. He is going to give us an update on the weather this week. So thank you, Danny Miranda.
The best.
Good morning, Lompoc. I'm your little da-da-da. Da-da-ba-ba-da. Here at the Day Report. This week is the 3-2 down watch. 30 PVs across the board. Typical Lompoc weather. What do you like to do outside? I like to jump on the trampoline with race cars.
Jump on the trampoline with race cars.
Bye, Lompoc.
Thank you, Danny. So it looks like
what do you like to do, Michelle?
I wish I had a trampoline. So then I would totally jump on the trampoline, but probably not with race cars because then I would fall and hurt myself. But I would put one of those hoses on there and create a slip and slide. So that's what I would do.
I didn't post it because it's like too bad for everyone to see. It's not great, but I saw this video yesterday. Speaking of trampolines, I'll show it to you later. Or all my adult friends. There's on Reddit a picture of a guy on top of his roof. He thought it was a great idea to jump into the pool. It was a pool out in the yard, but he thought it was a good idea to jump first on one of the big trampolines, and then springboard into the pool. But as he jumped off, he just went right through the trampoline. And it was pretty.
Don't do that.
It was pretty funny.
Don't do that.
Adults don't do that. Kids all day long, probably no problem.
All right. So we have a little bit of a longer segment about the murals, but we have lots of fun stories to share in there and some historical segments as well. So thank you so much to Ann Thompson and Vicki Andersen from the Lompoc Art Society, right? And
yes.
Mural Society. Oh, what do you have to say?
We should say I think the first time that we kind of got to know them or meet them was when we did a little bit of video work on one of the murals in a weekend.
So we'll have some footage in there from that too. So
anyway, these are awesome ladies doing great work, keeping our town artistic and creating a draw for tourism. Pretty cool.
The whole mural project started in 1988 when Judy and Gene Stevens went to Chemainus in Vancouver Island, British Columbia, and saw this little town that had turned their economy around using art and brought it back to town. Gene was involved with city council, had been mayor at one time, and they had a town meeting and they hired their first artist and went from there. I think it's one of the more popular ones in the community, for one thing. That's why we did a major restoration on it. How many years ago?
2014.
Okay.
No, 15.
Get it right.
Yeah.
And it was our first mural in a day. that we ever did. Was done in 1992, but it's kind of one of my favorites because it was such a incredible event. Gene Stevens, that was our grand instigator, brought the mural project to Lompoc. He came screeching in one day at some small meeting, and he'd seen this event in Toppamish, Washington, where they did this mural in a day. And he says, "Oh, we ought to do that." And a bunch of us idiots fell in line. We worked all day from like 8 in the morning till 5 at night, and they took the scaffolding down around our ears. And we had a dedication ceremony. We actually had been in contact with the Shumash and gotten approval on the design, so we didn't do anything wrong or anything like that. And they came to the dedication ceremony and did the condor dance, blessed the crowd with sage. And it was just, and then we had our first Can't Believe We Did It party that night for the artists and people like that. It was just an incredible event.
Well, normally when we do murals, it's obviously a straight view. But when we were looking for walls for this year, the 2016, we were looking at just this side. Normally we're used to something much bigger. This isn't going to take any time at all. And we were thinking a weekend, and it's like, So I said, well, how about if we take it around the building? And Vicki said, I don't know. And the more we talked about it, it was like, well, that's not a bad idea. So we followed through on it, and Art did a great job of making it go around the building.
The mural in a day, we have usually 12 to 14 participating artists that paint it. The mural on a weekend, they were opening it to the communities to paint. And so and Art Mortimer had kind of spearheaded that in other communities, I think. I hadn't heard about anybody else doing it, at least not in the West Coast. So we contacted him and finally arranged to do the mural on the weekend, and it was over Saturday and Sunday. And I think the first year we had at least 150 community members that came out and worked on it for whatever period of time. Some of them worked both days. I was really excited because that was the whole idea, was to give ownership to the community.
Yes.
And people that just happened to drive through town would come work on it too, you know. And I thought we achieved that very well. I think, you know, a lot of people in Lompoc aren't that aware of the murals because most of the ones that we've created are in Old Town. But that opened their eyes a little bit, and they're proud of them, and they've taken ownership of them. Hopefully helped us protect them now.
It was heartwarming. You'd have to say the second day.
Over 180 or so, I think, was the number for the second one 2 years later, the Chautauqua one. Pretty much all of the murals that the Mural Society does have something to do with Lompoc's history. That's part of the mission. Besides revitalizing Old Town, it's to preserve Lompoc's history in some way with the mural. We've had so much help over the years from the people at the Historical Society, particularly like Myra Manfrina has always helped us find information on our subject matter we'd chosen. Well, this time we didn't really have a subject, so I wandered into their reference room one day when they were all in there, and I said, hey, we're gonna do another mural on a weekend, and we don't have a good topic yet. Anybody got any ideas? Somebody said something about, what about Chautauqua? And I'd heard of that before in the past. And there was a photograph on the wall of the tents and some of the crowds and stuff from it, and I had them help me find a bunch more reference information about it. It was this
traveling
cultural
entertainment thing that every year they had a route that they'd go in the United States. And
started in New York State, though.
Yeah, and they'd travel around all year. And then one year it might be, you know, like more musical, orchestra, singing, things like this. Another year it might be a play that they were putting on. It just varied. And the tents were put up right down here.
Yeah,
right down in the heart.
Down to the park there. But they had dance, and they had music, and they had drama, and they had speakers, and I don't remember when it started.
Oh, I have
But it went through the 20s into the 30s.
And then it died.
Before people really had radio and all that
and
sort of stuff.
they had more people had cars and things, so they could travel to wherever they wanted to go for entertainment.
Well, I'll start and say that this was a commissioned mural, and Annie was the artist.
To me, it was kind of exciting, mainly because I had not done one like this before. I mean, I've worked on almost all the murals, but to actually have one that would be showcased was a little intimidating because, you know, you got your name on it and everything. This happened in 1923, and it happened right off the coast here, and it was back in the day when radar was brand new. So a lot of ship captains or whatever generals, they didn't trust it, so that they would go by dead reckoning. The day that this happened, they were doing just a practice run. It was during peacetime, and they left from San Francisco, and they were just simply going to go down to San Diego, and they were going about 23 miles an hour along the coast, and it got to be about 9 o'clock at night, and it was dark, and it was in September, so it was kind of cold, and around here the fog was rolling in and stuff. Yeah, as you're coming down the state of California, there's that point straight out here that they'd gone past it because they were wanting to go between the islands to get down to San Diego, but they hadn't, and just came right into the coast, as you can see here on the map. And the first ship that hit was the one the captain was on, and that's depicted right here. And it split, and I think 2 men died on that one. Then the Chauncey, which is depicted right on the, you just catch the edge of it over there, hit, and then the USS Young, which is that one right up at the very top, capsized within 90 seconds. At least that's the report that was given. And so the largest loss of life took place on that one because so many men were trapped below deck. I think 21 men were on that one that died. Now, obviously not all of them died, but one of the guys was a good swimmer. And so he took it upon himself to jump into the water with a rope tied around him. So he swam to the Chauncey. They hoisted him up on that. They pulled it, and then they went across the rope like that. Several of the other ships came in. I think there were 7 altogether that were lost. And the rest of them were able to avoid. They could see what was happening, you know, or hear it, whatever. And so they veered off.
What do they call it? The worst peacetime naval disaster?
Yeah, worst peacetime navigational naval disaster.
So thank you so much, Vicki and Ann. So I learned a lot. I know that.
And we did check out a few more murals with them, but we felt like it was...
That'll be part 2.
Yes. So Vicki and Ann, thank you so much for your time yesterday. We can't wait to keep, going through some of these murals and learning more about the history and reminding people here in town that, hey, if you're artistic and you're looking for something to get involved in and try to make a difference, it's not always painting new murals, but sometimes it's the upkeep of murals that need to be refurbished.
Yep. Anne is their official curator, so she's the only employee of the Mural Society that she personally takes care of every single piece and restores it herself. Some of these take weeks to restore to make sure that they look perfect. So let's keep our murals safe and beautiful. Consider donating to the Lompoc Art Society, Mural Society.
Yeah. And someone just mentioned and reminded us too that on your utility bill you can round up, I believe, to the nearest dollar, and that little bit of extra can go to the Lompoc Mural Society, which is a really cool thing. So but several years ago the city made it a thing that they wanted to do. They wanted to support this and try to make it a draw.
And they really do need more young people to get involved. Vicki was bending my ear on that quite a bit. And so if you're artistic, consider reaching out and volunteering with them. They're a really fun group if you can't tell.
If you don't like smiling and laughing, don't bother reaching out. It probably won't be any fun for you because they love to have fun. So anyway, we're going to keep this going, and if you like this and you learn something, make sure you if you get a chance to get outside, take your kids, go check out some of these murals. One fascinating thing about that Chautauqua one, and I think eventually we'll do a segment on that.
I had no idea I just thought it was a really beautiful mural. I'm like, oh, this is kind of like an honor to the 20s throwback or something. I didn't bother to look into it.
But it was literally the best way I could describe it is it was. So in the early 1910s and 1920s.
Well, they already saw the segment.
It was like TED Talks.
Oh, I see what
back then.
You're saying.
So
okay,
it was oratory, it was plays, it was music, and all these things right before driving and radio became really big. But where they put the tent up is literally right where Centennial Park is right now, across the street from the Lompoc Museum. In fact, in some of those photos, you can see the Lompoc Museum building right next to this giant tent that
That's
they would
so
have
cool.
for that. So,
Well, I'm really looking forward to the Historical Society reopening soon too, so
Yes.
we can dig in there and
We
get
have
into
so
some more
many
Lompoc
questions.
history. So, so that's our show for today.
Yes.
We are. We hope you all have a wonderful week, and we'll be back on Friday at 8:30.
and Friday is going to be a special show
Yep.
in that we're going to be talking about Juneteenth, right? And that is June 19th, and that is celebrating the end of slavery.
Yes.
So we're going to dig into a couple of stories, get some more history homework, and hopefully talk to a few community members and just learn as much as we can.
Yep.
So that should be fascinating.
And if you have any ideas or think that we should interview you next, please reach out to us. If your kids are hilarious and they want to do their own little anchor show, please reach out for ideas
Yes.
and we can discuss or send us something. So always looking for content. So we want this to be a community show and get you involved as much as possible. So thank you so much. We have your little moment of Zen
Thank you
from
guys so much.
Kalama last week. Have a great week.
See you Friday.